a rap artist, a checkboxer turned hemp activist, and a lady who lives in a small village and has been treating people with hemp for years. And the list goes on. Doing seminars with Dr. Hannes was a pleasure, and I loved the reaction of the crowds. I was hosted on this tour by a hemp cosmetic company called Bear and Romsey. While I was in your country, I had the opportunity to try some of Bear and Romsey's products and was greatly impressed and brought some of their products back to Canada with me. I think Bear and Romsey Cosmetics Company have a wonderful future. Yindrich Bear and Milan Romsey took a Canadian who could not speak a word of Czech and made this speaking tour a great success. They also took me to a great number of clubs. The Metro in Olomos, the Marley Club, the Eye, it was called the Eye something, I'm not sure, in Prague, a snowboarding club, and the Cross Club, etc. I will leave it to Yindra to fill in the proper names. I would like to advise anyone traveling in the Czech Republic to visit these clubs. Each one has its own unique atmosphere, and I think you will love them. Also, Baron Romsey introduced me to some of the best equipped grow shops I have ever seen. Yindra and Milan were a pleasure to be with, and I want to thank them for making this tour possible. I would also like to thank a lovely lady by the name of Hanka for showing me Praha. The city is just beautiful, and you were a delight to be with. Currently, I'm getting ready to do a hemp seminar at the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam. Then I go on to Vienna for another seminar, and then to Berlin to do a seminar at the Hemp Museum. I am supposed to meet Yindra in Milan at the Cannabis Cup, and when I am done with these 3 seminars, I hope to be returning to the Czech Republic with Yindra in Milan. I am not sure as yet how long I will be staying, but I can tell you that I can't wait to get back to the Czech Republic. The Czech people should be extremely proud of their country, for the Czech Republic is indeed a very special place. Well, that's the article I sent in for the Hemp magazine in the Czech Republic.
And now, while we're on the topic of hemp magazines, I was reading an article a little over a month ago in Weed World. You were defending, I don't know the name of the fellow,
Eddie Lapp.
Eddie Lapp.
Yeah. Eddie Lapp, yes. Eddie's in. They just gave Eddie. They just gave Eddie 10 years, and he just started his sentence here a few months ago. But Eddie Lapp is not a criminal. As a matter of fact, the person that put him in jail, the judge that sentenced him, maybe that's who should be locked up. Eddie was just trying to help people, and that's what's wrong with this world. People like Eddie Lapp and myself. We help people, and we're persecuted for it. And, I mean, that's, again, is insanity. And it's really the people's own fault. I mean, we sit here, I hate what the political system and the big money is doing, but the medical system is in league with them, the legal system. They're all working together against us. So, I mean, these people, we're paying their salaries, and they're supposed to be working for us. But it's more than obvious that this is not the case. So the only thing I can see for the people to do, I mean, I don't want violence. There's already been too many people have died, and bloodshed is something we don't need. But if the Canadian people stand as one and say we've had enough of this nonsense, it all comes to an end. Because no matter what, no matter how you look at it, the real power in any country is the people, not the government. The government is supposed to be working for the people. And it's high time the Canadian government learned that.
And we'll get back onto that, but I'm going to take the fact that you've mentioned Canadians acting in concert together for the benefit for their own benefit right now.
Well, I mean, it's our fault because we've sat there, we've watched them take our rights and our freedoms. We've watched them do this for decades, and we have sat there and done nothing, and that's called apathy. Now, the old saying is, if you want freedom, you've got to fight for it every day. And I believe that firmly.
You've recently become a freeman on the land.
Yes.
And this, personally, I think is the remedy in and of itself. I was reading an article that suggests there's 3 routes. One is the redemption route, which is learning all that acceptance for value and learning how to use your signature for purchases and so consumer purchases and so on. Another is the Freeman route, and the third, and I haven't studied this one that I heard about, is a sort of a blend between the two, where this Richard Christensen, somebody or other Christensen, is proposing that we get back to smaller communities. And these...
well, that's about what I'm proposing, too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we got to get back to the land.
That's where I was getting in the long roundabout way.
But there's something else here, Al, that really has to be mentioned, and it's another thing that people should be out there marching in the streets. Now, at the end of this year, here in Canada, and I think the United States, or several countries, they're going to implement Codex Alimentarius. That is the outlawing of the natural. And what's going on, companies like Monsanto, which you should educate yourself on too, they are genetically modifying food to lower its nutrient value. So they're working to make the public sick because the food is not going to have any nutrients in it. Now, at the end of the year, after the end of the year, if you want a vitamin, you're probably going to have to go to your doctor because they're going to restrict the use of vitamins. So that leaves the people at the mercy of the pharmaceutical companies. You know, food that doesn't have any nutrient value, vitamins that you can't get, and medicine or chemicals that'll kill you. So it doesn't sound like a very good future, and I really don't know why the Canadian public isn't marching in the streets, and whoever put that bill on the floor, he is a traitor against this country and the people in it, and he should be treated as a traitor.
I believe they're also known as a sellout.
I was distracted for a minute. Are you talking about Bill C6?
Oh, I don't know. They keep changing the bills and the numbers, but Codex Alimentarius, look it up and get rid of it.
Okay, yes. Oh, yes. They've been at that since the 60s.
Yes. No, they've been at that since theoretically, it was dreamt up in the 60s, Codex Alimentarius.
Right.
But when you look at what it is, the outlawing of the natural, well, the outlawing of the natural happened in Canada in 1923 when they outlawed the hemp plant, because that's the mother of natural medicine, and they outlawed it.
Yep.
So Codex Alimentarius goes back a ways in Canada.
And let's see, my head just went in two different directions. I keep wanting to say Malleus Maleficatorum, the witch's hammer. And that's Latin for the witch's hammer. It's a book that was written to guide the Inquisition, the Inquisitors in Europe,
right.
And all of the tactics that they use, like they'll bust someone and then they'll just start squeezing them to rat out on their friends, and then just use this as a little ladder to progress their career.
Yes.
But it's clearly a church document, and this is, as far back as I can trace, the attempt to prohibit cannabis is this book.
It has a great deal to do with the church. Of course it does, because I mean, when Christianity was formed, well, Christianity didn't care too much for all those heathen religions, and of course, quite a few of these heathen religions worshiped the hemp plant. So when Christianity was formed, of course, for a sacrament, instead of using the hemp plant, they used wine. But Christianity is a good part of the reason that hemp is denied. And the thing I have to laugh about, I mean, if there was a man, walking this planet 2,000 years ago and healing people, what do you think he was using? I mean, 700 years before Christ, in the ancient Persian religious text called the Vinedad, they listed the 10,000 most medicinal plants known to man. Now, at that time, there was no hospitals or trauma centers or any of that nonsense. They depended on nature to heal themselves. The #1 plant on that list, now this is 2,700 years ago, cannabis. So I think there's a good possibility that Jesus may have used it. And on top of that, through the Bible, they have different names in there, like the aromatic cane and things like that. And they mean cannabis. And reading the Bible itself, it says, a plant of great renown shall arise. Well, guess what? It's arisen.
Yes, there's also the mention of the plant for the healing of the nations.
The tree of life, and that's the hemp plant.
And as the plant of great renown, I believe, continued to say that it was, you would no longer suffer the boot of the heathen on your neck.
Right.
In conjunction with that quote.
And one last thing here I'll stick in about the Bible as well, whether people realize it or not, other than the breath of life which God breathed into man, the very first gift that God gives man is, you got it, green herb that